Hey, hello fam, it's Snow again. You can call me Snowtasstic or the Night King, and I'm glad to have you here. I know it's been a minute, but then I'm just glad to be back here with you making a video for you. So basically in this episode, I'm going to be retouching a themed photo. It's a theme of, it's a vampire theme, let's just say. And it was actually shot by Lash Pixel. I'm going to leave a link to his YouTube page in the description below so you can follow, subscribe, and don't forget to subscribe to this page, share, like, and comment. Whatever you think you can contribute to this session or this episode, you could just leave it in the comment section below. You could also leave a shout out or something. So in this image, we're actually going to be talking about how to consider stuff, or how I consider stuff in the images before I actually go forward to retouching them, and then the basic stuff that I touch on. One thing that I might add, a disclaimer, is that if you're someone who is actually like now starting Photoshop or doesn't know how to use Photoshop, probably this episode might not be the best for you. I'm going to make subsequent episodes and put them into playlists where I'm going to be teaching how to use the tools, basic tools. So how to do stuff like paintings, croppings, and other things. So you just bear with me. This episode is just to show my style of retouching, like a quick retouch or a quick edit, if you may. Yeah, so we're going to be looking at the color, how to deal with color, and how to actually manipulate color to suit your preference, because every photographer is unique in their own way. Everyone has the kind of feel they want their images to have. And my feel, or the feel I like my images to have, is I like my images to be crisp. I'm going to show you how I get that crispness in the image. So I like my images to be crisp, and I like it to be bright. I like my images to call out, like to be the center of attention. I also like warm colors. So I have a couple of photographer friends who actually like cool colors, and they like their images to look blue. I like my images to look warm. I don't know why. It's just something about me. So without talking too much, let's just jump into Photoshop. All right. Okay, so now we're in Photoshop, and first of all, this is a great image, a great concept, and basically there's not going to be a lot of skin retouching going on. Probably just a little bit, but then the main thing is getting the feel of the image, the vampire theme, getting it to stand out. So I already cleaned up some spots on the backdrop. So the first thing we're going to do is to create I'm going to create my frequency separation layer. So I have some actions for that. So I usually go for 4, because the higher you go, the less the effect of the mixer brush tool on it. And I don't like my images to look that flat. I don't like them to look flat. I like them to look to have a little bit of contrast in them. I don't have any problem with people who like their images to look flat, but I just like a little bit of contrast in mine. So we're going to start by retouching, like just blending a little bit of colors. So this, I'm using the mixer brush tool. You can see here, I chose the mixer brush tool, and I have my lower frequency layer, and that's what I'm going to be working on. So we start by brushing, and the brushing is, I basically brush in between the tones to blend them together. So for instance, in between this tone, and then I just spread out the white a little bit. So blend, and I spread it around a little bit. I don't really want to take away a lot of detail from his face, because he's supposed to be a vampire. And well, we just need a little bit of the makeup to show, to actually complement the theme. So yeah, and the thing with muscled figures is you don't want to do a lot of blending because they still have to look jacked, if you may. They still have to look jacked. So if you do a lot of blending, and a muscled man just begins to look like a lady. Basic things you might just do is to just blend it in a little bit to make it look presentable. We can see a couple, you can see like the skin tones over here. On her face, she looks a little pale or ashy. That's probably from the light, because she might be too close to the light, or for the fact that her skin is not as lustrous as the other skins we have in here, because he had like oil on his body, and she doesn't have oil, but she has like a little bit of lustrous skin, so her face is depicting it, but she doesn't have that much of a luster in her skin. She has oil on her body, so that actually is good. So let's just continue. This looks pretty good. We're gonna add all the highlights back. I'll show you how I do that in a moment, so just hold on. Alright, this is not supposed to be an actual retouching, I mean an in-depth retouching video, but I guess I'm getting carried away. So I'll just stop here. And okay, so from here, usually the next thing I do is I do my color grading. I told you I like warm colors, so I'm just going to put like just a little bit of warmth into the colors. I go into the reds of my selective color adjustment layer, and then put in a tad of red, and I bring the magentas down because, well, I could just take it up a little. Okay, and then put in yellows a little bit. Then we bring down the blacks. That makes it pale. Just a little pale, because we don't want to overdo it. And I can go into the yellows too, and add some more yellows and darken this part. Okay, I think I like this. It's going to be so next thing I usually do is I also add a gradient map, and I like to use the gold too. Yeah, what I do is I get the gold too, and then I put it in soft light blending mode. So I invert my layer mask, and then I paint. I forgot to choose the brush, so then I paint over the. So this is where I actually get my should I say monotone or something? Yeah, skin tone, monotonous skin tone from. Yeah, increase it a little and just blend all the skin tones. So this is actually like a mask. It's kind of like it's usually, sometimes you can use it for all the characters in the image, because not everyone has the same skin tone. So you could use it. It's just going to make like it a little, it's just going to make all the people look a little alike. But then primarily everyone has different skin tones. So if you want to limit some of the gradient maps to just specific characters in your photo, that might just add a little pizzazz to your image. So I'm just going to limit them to Yoni here in the photo. And this is not Yoni's foot. This is the second foot. Okay. So we're gonna add a second gradient map for the ladies, because they have darker skin tone. So I'm gonna look for a darker skin tone, darker gradient map, sorry. But I'm gonna make this a multiply, because I'm dealing with a darker skin tone. So I invert the color and then I paint over the models. It doesn't have to be perfect. Sometimes you can just tweak it after you're done painting. So it takes a while. I'm gonna fast forward this, and I think a couple of others just so you guys don't get bored. All right. Okay, so mind you, this was not supposed to be perfect, and I'm also not going to be using it at this opacity. So that is why I didn't take my time to just, tweak, make it perfect to the touch. I would have cropped if I wanted it to be perfect, and then match the skin. I would have cropped the images and then applied a layer mask on them with a skin, or with a gradient map, sorry. So what I do next from here is just lower my opacity until I get the sweet spot, the spot that I like. Let's see, 15, and we just tweak it, let it go down a little, because we're gonna add contrast later on. So let's say 10 looks good, because it covered her white face. Yeah, okay, sorry about that. So yeah, how pale her face was, it covered it. Even though vampires are usually pale in complexion, but then that's not the look I'm going for here. I just want him to be a different shade, and for them to be also a different shade. So we're gonna take him a little lower, 17, and there, yeah, that's perfect. So from here, next thing we're gonna do, you could choose to, I don't wanna whiten their teeth, because obviously they have like some blood and other stuff in there. So let's just keep their teeth that way. Next thing is we're gonna add I'm not gonna do any dodge or burning, because I'm going to be putting like a lot of contrast into this image. So we just bring our levels adjustment layer, and then pull the blacks all the way in, have a gloomy looking image. Okay, you have a gloomy looking image, and we're gonna increase the highlights just a little tad. All right, See, we have like a lot of contrast already. We're losing some detail in the outfits, but that's okay. And to make your image look more crisp, this is one method of increasing the crispness. So next we're gonna do a duplicate of the high frequency layer. So we duplicate it, then we move it all the way to the top of the layer panel and in the layer panel. And then we change the blending mode to linear light. You see already that is like real crisp, but you can't keep it this way because it just distorts the image on Instagram and everywhere else you might put it. So you decrease it a little just to have, you know, a little bit of crispness in the image. I sometimes put a layer mask on it, invert it, and then I just reveal it on certain areas like the hair, to get the hair in focus, you know, and the muscles, I mean everybody in the image. Yeah. So now you could just increase it to just see the effect on only the area. Yes, that's good. That's good. Sometimes to add extra contrast, I just create a stamp visible layer, and then that is on Windows. I use the Windows. You hold Shift, Control, Alt, and then E. You click E, and then it creates a stamp visible layer. That it just compresses all the layers you already have into one single layer. And on that layer, we're gonna go into filter, other, and then high pass. This is to add. Well, I'm gonna just set it to 1.5. And this is to add extra contrast because we're not going to use the same linear light. We're going to use vivid light. So you see the difference with linear light. Look, it just adds like a little bit of contrast. But if you go to vivid light, I mean, yeah, vivid light adds a little bit of contrast. Uh-oh. Yeah. So we have a little sharpness increase in there. You can leave it like that, or you can decrease it a little bit. All right. For now, this is a good image. We came all the way from here to here. We have the contrast and everything set, but we could do a little more to make it look more dramatic. So, for instance, adding some vignetting. So add some vignetting. That's too much, and we set it to soft light. Set the layer blending mode to soft light. Sometimes I put a layer mask on it and then just blot out some of the places. I decrease the flow to about, let's say, 5. So it's just a steady build up. I decrease the flow to about 5, and it's just a steady build up. So I choose my black. I just hit X. So X switches the foreground color and the background color. So I choose black, and I'm painting on the layer mask. So to just hide the vignetting from the characters. So just little by little to create a, that's why we have the flow on 5%. So little by little to create should we say a realistic, not realistic, but probably a build up, yeah, practically just a build up on the image. So it got a little bit of the floor over there. So you can go over a couple of times in addition. And then I'm going to accentuate. I like that word. Accentuate the highlights. It's not it's not mandatory, but it's just something I like to do. So I go to the adjustment layers again and bring out the curves adjustment layer. And then I just go and select screen. Screen brings up all the highlights. There are two ways you could do this. The first way brings out all the highlights. So it touches your background, everything else. That's just double clicking on this, opens your layer styles. You hold Alt, you click on this, separates them, underlying layer, and then you drag. So while dragging, it just limits it to certain areas of the photo that has highlights. You can leave it there and then bring this also, decreases the trend, but then still it puts a little highlight on the background, and that is not what I like. So I just leave it this way, invert my layer mask, and then I paint with a low flow and my white, of course, because this is an inverted layer mask. So on the areas I want to accentuate, so I just have a couple of highlights brought in. Just a tad. And bring out the eyes a little bit. Okay. These are great models, by the way. You should check their pages out. I'll link their Instagram handles to the in the description below. I just put them on my my website, yeah, in the blog section. So I'm just gonna put in the blog section, I'm just gonna put whatever details I have on an image. I'm gonna put them on my website in the blog section, so you could just go into the blog section, read a little read a little. Yeah, reading is fundamental, so just read a little and share with a friend, y'all. Share with a friend. Okay. Sorry. Yeah. So I have that. We came all the way from here to here. You can leave it this way. You can add a little pizzazz if you want, whatever you want to do to it. But I'm just going to leave it this way. So thank you for joining me. This has been a good session. Sorry for how long it took, but I hope you learned something from this session, and I hope that this was contributed to your growth in one way or another. You could just leave whatever comments or questions you have in the comment section below. I'll be glad to help, and I'll be glad to learn from you too. If you have another way of editing a photo or making or should I say coloring or grading a photo, you could just share with us. You could share with me, and we'll just grow together. All right, thank you. And like I said, this was a really good image. Like, subscribe, and share. I'm gonna be bringing out a video of a high-end retouching where I actually go into in depth and I show you like how to retouch like a portrait photo, you know, like mano a mano portrait photo or something. So I just hope you stay with me for that one, and please, please, please like, subscribe, and you can turn on that little bell, you know, so whenever I drop a video, you know when it's out, and then you can be the first to watch it. All right, thank you. Sayonara.